United's 3-1 defeat at Brentford has piled the pressure on Ruben Amorim. Can he turn it around at Sunderland? Welcome to United in Focus. I have my great panel with me again today, and we're going to discuss the fallout from the defeat against Brentford, the pressure which Amorim finds himself in, and of course what he needs to do to turn things around against Sunderland this weekend. Remember to subscribe on YouTube, as well as leave comments, give us a thumbs up and whatnot, and we'll have more videos next week. So, Jonny, digging into this game, a 3-1 defeat against Brentford. We thought after beating Chelsea that we might get back-to-back wins for the first time under Amorim in the league. That wasn't the case. There's been a lot of criticism from pundits and former players that we've been covering on United in Focus. What have you made from it? And of course, what criticisms have stood out from maybe Gary Neville or others?
Well, yeah, I think post Chelsea was probably his best chance he's had to win back-to-back games. Because, Brentford and then even Sunderland, there could have been three. But the performance was it was the type of performance you might expect to see month one of a new manager with teething problems, not 11 months in. And, I think Gary Neville said that he looked stupid, I think, after the match. I can't remember what it was, maybe putting Mason Mount on as a wing back.
Of course, there was a follow-up from last week in which he criticised the chopping and changing of defences. So it's a number of things I think Gary Neville was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's his commitment to playing that three at the back formation. It's going to be his downfall, because even when he's putting players on who should be, higher up the pitch chasing a goal, he's playing them in roles which they're not familiar with. And, I just think I'm at the point now where, as much as I wanted him to succeed, I just can't see it happening.
Adnan, I think it takes a lot for Gary Neville to come out and even suggest that there could be a change in management. Maybe the Ineos have a decision to make. What does that say about the pressure that Amorim now finds himself in, that people like Gary Neville are even asking these questions now?
When Ferguson left, they call it the impossible job, and it feels truly impossible for Ruben Amorim right now because, as you said, Gary Neville is a firm advocate of United. He always puts them in the top four for his prediction, and even he's finding it hard to defend the indefensible right now. And the same with Wayne Rooney. If you watch Wayne Rooney on his show, Wayne Rooney was really struggling, and you could see he kept saying, like, I don't want any repercussions against my children who are in the United Academy if I say something. And I think basically Ruben Amorim is on his own now, essentially. He is like the lone warrior commander leading an army, and what the result is now is it lives and dies on him, because he has no support now within the club in terms of like the background of the United legends. The media narrative has shifted, so it's his final stand, essentially. This is Ruben Amorim's final stand.
Going back to the defeat against Brentford, Jonny, what were some of the deeper issues that you noticed behind Amorim's game management?
Well, I think for the last couple of months now, his substitutions have been being criticised, and rightly so. I think the decision to always change the back three, I think every time he does that, we look rocky and we concede chances and inevitably goals. I think there's so much you can criticise about Ruben Amorim at the moment. And I think, even the win against Chelsea, although it gave us a little bit of euphoria at the time, I think we all knew we would be back in this position, whether it be this week or next week. So yeah, I just think he's at the point now, if he loses to Sunderland, the noise around him over the international break is going to be a bit too loud. And I think there was it the Daily Mail yesterday suggested that he might jump before being pushed. And I think that could be the case if he loses to Sunderland. I think it could be game over.
Adnan, I want to come to you about how the fans are thinking right now. We've spoken about Gary Neville. We've spoken about Amorim's in-game management. How are the fans feeling right now? Is the patience wearing thin?
I think it's at its thinnest point. It's probably at its breaking point as well of United fans, because you can't take much away from it, because we haven't won back-to-back Premier League wins under Ruben Amorim. That is so damning for the manager. Like, he can't escape that. And it kind of reminds me as well, even during the the Ferguson years. I know people don't necessarily like talking about the Ferguson years because we're in a different time, but when we were under Fergie and Arsenal saw its dominance with Arsene Wenger, you could watch football matches and still enjoy it because you could go to a United game and see Ruud van Nistelrooy score. You knew he was going to score, and we were still good. We were consistent. We were challenging in that picture, and there's nothing wrong with that. I know people take swipes at Mikel Arteta because they haven't won a league title, but they are challenging for it. They are in that top picture, but we are in the bottom half of the Premier League table. And there's no kind of narrative here that United fans can spin to say the manager's in a good place, the club is in a good place. The rot is starting at the top and it's now coming all the way down to the bottom with the fans, and the fans are feeling it. And United fans, you've seen them when they go to the away crowds, they support the team no matter what. And you saw at Brentford the scenes there, the amount of United fans that were left. And I think that is the clearest indication of how United fans feel right now about the club.
Jonny, I want to get your thoughts on that because United fans have been fantastic to all the managers that have been in the dugout and the difficulties that they faced. They've rallied behind them, and that continues to be the case at games, home and away. What do you feel, or how do you feel about people that maybe say we need to stop sacking managers? We need to stop this rinse and repeat system. Is Amorim, is he owed that, or do you think that there's very little credit in the bank for him to persist with it?
Well, I think every manager is owed some degree of leniency, but I think 11 months in, not winning back-to-back games, to even suggest he gets another month of this, it would be, I think, ridiculous. I can't remember who said it yesterday, but someone reported that Amorim behind the scenes is quite shocked by what he's labelled knee-jerk reactions from fans, which fans were with him up until maybe a month and a half ago, and full of belief after a good summer transfer window, but there's no improvement. We're creating chances, which is different, but at the other end we've almost regressed. I think since Erik ten Hag was in charge, we're conceding chances every game, and he made the big goalkeeping decision which has ultimately backfired on him, I think, with Altay.
Adnan, all things going well, we're all going to be many words in a few weeks, and Ruben Amorim is going to turn things around. After the game against Brentford, going into the game against Sunderland, tell me, what's the first thing he must fix?
Where do we start? The list is extensive with Ruben Amorim to solve this. Ultimately, it is, for him, he needs to get Casemiro back in that starting 11, because I think this is the one thing he's now showing, which is he is so vulnerable. Losing Casemiro in that game showed his vulnerability, and he's going to have to hope that Casemiro has a real Real Madrid prime resurgence or something, because his back is up against the wall. He needs to make sure his centre-back stay for 90 minutes. I don't understand his tactics of swapping a centre-back every game. Lenny Yoro needs to come back into the 11 as well, because we were so exposed playing Maguire and De Ligt together. The pace was completely gone from that team. And I think he's going to have to put a cagey result on. I think he's going to have to really go strategic, plan his tactics out, and try and pick a result up, because, as Jonny said there as well, we've regressed in the attacking lineup. And that was after, the Erik ten Hag era, and then also with Anthony and these other players going. So I think whatever he must do to get a result, this is what's going to happen. So he's going to have to throw everything. He's going to throw the kitchen sink, essentially, to get this result. So I think the first one and the major one is going to get Casemiro back in the starting 11.
I really hope we throw the kitchen sink at them, because a throwback to the Fergie days would be fantastic. Adnan has mentioned rejigging the midfield, the return of Casemiro after his suspension. Jonny, I feel like I'm asking you this every week. Is this the week Kobbie Mainoo gets a nod?
You would like to think so, wouldn't you? I think he's shown this season, even in that more defensive midfield role, he offers no less than Manuel Ugarte or Casemiro. But it's not going to happen. Plain and simple, he's going to play Casemiro and Bruno, and we're going to be overrun in midfield by Sunderland. They're going to play us off the park at Old Trafford, I think. They look a really good team this season, and where we've been vulnerable is on quick transitions, and that's what Sunderland have excelled at, and why they're, at the moment, up at the top end of the table.
You have to be fearful of Sunderland, even though they're a newly promoted side. The newly promoted sides are doing well this season. They've looked organised. They're a team that can hit you on the counter-attack. Are you fearful going into this game, Adnan, that it could be another one that adds to the cauldron of pressure that's on Amorim?
Yeah, absolutely terrified, because there's no conviction behind the performances now. The players just look shell-shocked every time they hit the pitch. And there's like, unless there's a spark from Bryan Mbeumo or Matthias Cunha, we look toothless at times, and that's really worrying. And we're playing in front of Old Trafford. The United fans are going to be there. All the pressure is on Ruben Amorim. The spotlight is truly on him. You see those theatre scenes, and the big spotlight comes down on one person. That is truly Ruben Amorim's moment now. It's his last stand as well, and I think I'm fearful. I think United fans are going to be fearful there, and you see it as well. I've seen the narrative as well with United fans. I should mention as well with like Altay Bayindir. The minute they see him in net, they are spooked completely. And I think he should just put Le Mans on and go full on here and try and do everything to protect his job, because it seems like the writing's on the wall at the moment, irrespective of the result.
Just to stick on that point, because I think that's an interesting one that we overlooked. Come to you, Jonny, the goalkeeper situation, sticking with Bayindir. For me, it confuses me. We knew last season that he wasn't the ideal goalkeeper because he wasn't starting ahead of Onana, who was raising questions. Now, all of a sudden, after spending 20 million on a new goalkeeper, we're still stuck with Bayindir.
I think last season, a lot of us thought Bayindir maybe wasn't even good enough to be number 2. Yet somehow this season he's number 1. But as Adnan says, I think the fans, the minute they see Bayindir on the team sheet, the mood drops, because he's got at least one mistake in him per game. And I think the Sunderland players arriving, they'll know that. So they'll arrive confident if they see him on the team sheet. So I think it has to be Lamens that comes in. Otherwise, I think we're going to have to score 3 probably to win. And I can't see our attack doing that at this moment in time.
Before we move on to the next topic, Adnan, should Amorim push Bruno further forward?
Yeah, he has to go forward or he drops him. There's only two solutions here with Bruno Fernandes, and I just don't understand why he's not playing him in an advanced role. It's like we started games with Cunha and Mbeumo. Cunha can go to the forward role or Sesko can drop. Someone needs to move out of that position, because when Roberto Martinez is playing Bruno Fernandes in his best position at Portugal, and you see it every single time during the international period, World Cup qualifiers, Bruno Fernandes will fry. Bruno Fernandes looks shell-shocked. That's absolutely, he gets so much stick, Bruno, and I will defend him as well, because he's unequivocally the best signing we've had in the post-Ferguson era. But to play him in CDM role, that's like taking Zlatan Ibrahimovic and putting him in the net and being like, oh, okay, Ibrahimovic, because you're a 6-foot+ striker, you should be able to stop shots. It's pointless. So there's 2 solutions Ruben Amorim has for Bruno Fernandes. Either put him in an advanced role or drop him. And you have to show a manager's awareness now to do that. You have to be bold with this, because, as I said, last roll of the dice potentially this game for him, maybe. I'm not too sure, but that's where I stand with Bruno at least.
I was going to say, post-Brentford, Amorim came out and he was saying how the team lacked control, weren't playing our game. But then you'll pick the same midfield, which treats the ball like it's a bomb. So it's ludicrous to try that again and expect a different result. So it has to be Bruno further forward and Mino in, but we know he won't do it.
Adnan touched on this, that it could be his last game. For you, Jonny, is this a must-win for Ruben Amorim against Sunderland?
I think yes, but I also think last week was must-win, so was Chelsea. It all comes down to whether Ineos are ready to make that decision. But I do think it will be untenable if we lose at home to a newly promoted side, especially with the international break. And it's around that time of year last year when Ten Hag was under so much pressure, and he was doing better than Amorim's doing this season. Because we could, if we lose this weekend, we could be, I think, as low as 18th, which has to be the end, surely.
Hopefully not. When we're back talking next week after the game against Sunderland, we're not talking about being in the relegation zone. In regards to the squad right now and the pressures on Amorim, do you think it's more about the players or is it about the coach, Adnan? It's
on Ruben Amorim now. Because if the players have given, like, I know Alan Shearer said that, like, that performance that we saw against Chelsea, said in the second half that they showed that the players were still on side with him. I don't know. Since the Grimsby result and he came out and did that interview afterwards, it's been in the back of my mind thinking that have the players lost hope in this, and it feels like that. So Ruben Amorim's tactics, what he does next, it is all on him, because if I was the Sunderland manager right now, I've got my little board up and I know what Ruben Amorim's formation is and I know which players he's putting on there, because as much as Jonny wants to see Kobbie Mainoo and he gets asked every single week, we know what the result's going to be. So I think like that's where we're at right now. So I think it's on him, because if he radically changes things, then actually maybe we have a chance. But his blueprint's out there, his philosophy's out there. We know what he's going to do. We know what team he's going to play. He is unfortunately very predictable right now in the Premier League. At least it's not the Premier League, it's not the Portuguese league, and it's all on Ruben Amorim. Doesn't matter what the players do at this point. They could score 4 goals, we could lose 5-4 because Bayindir could be in net. It's just ultimately if he's willing to change and be methodical about his tactics and really play maybe a boring Jose Mourinho style football and get a 1-0 result or something. But it's on Ruben Amorim right now.
2 big questions, and I want a line each from both of these. So Jonny, we'll go with you first. Will Sunderland be the turning point?
No. I think we'll either draw or lose. I can't see us winning. I think belief will just be so low that there's no way to turn it around.
My heart as a United fan wants to say yes, but I'm now at the all-time low where no. I just think unfortunately he's in an untenable position, and it would take truly something we've not seen in a long time in the Premier League for him to turn it around. You'd have to go on an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer run of like results to change this now.
Coming back to you then for the second follow-up question, what is his margin for error after Brentford?
He needs to win against Sunderland and the result against Liverpool, at least a draw. If we do not pick a minimum of 4 points out of 6, that's it, game over. And I think Ineos, Barada, Wilcox and Ratcliffe will wield the axe on him.
I agree with that, yeah. I think after the 11 months we've had, there is no margin for error. He has to win against Sunderland and going around. But whether that happens or not, I'm not too confident.
You have all our views. We want yours. Make sure to leave a comment in the comment section below. Can Amorim handle the pressure of Manchester United and get a result against Sunderland? We will soon see. Make sure you also subscribe to United in Focus for more videos on the best club in the world. We will turn things around eventually, and we'll see you again next week.